Tonight on CFTK-TV, Kitimat will conduct their own complete community study. BC firefighting crews are heading down to California, and drones will be more common in Canadian skies.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damien Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. The RCMP and Prince Rupert are investigating as they were called to the hospital yesterday afternoon for a report of an assault with a weapon. They say a youth was receiving treatment for injuries after an incident involving an edged weapon took place early yesterday afternoon on school grounds. The injuries sustained were described as minor. The RCMP say all parties involved are known to each other and police do not believe there to be any risk to the public. They say they are working closely with the school district and partner agencies to provide the best possible support for the families involved. The District of Kitimat recently got a grant from the Union of British Columbia Municipalities so that they conduct a study. The study in question is called the Complete Community Study, whose purpose is to help the district figure out the best way to make sure that all the residents can meet their daily needs in the most efficient way possible. The results of the study will then be used to create an update for the district's official community plan, which is meant to make the community more self-reliant, attractive, and livable. Additional information can be found in an article on the District of Kitimat's website. Now, travel numbers were down slightly this December at the Terrace and Kitimat Regional Airport. In 2024, YXT welcomed a total of over 261,000 passengers, down from 2023's 280,000 customers. In December, about 16,000 customers flew from the airport, which is a decline from the previous year's approximately 20,000 customers. Heightened activity was expected during the LNG Canada construction phase, which is now more than 95% complete. Now, the Houston and District Chamber of Commerce has put out a warning of a scam email. The Chamber of Commerce has advised recipients to not open any email or communication from an account that goes by Penny Murphy. They say the email is a scam and does not originate from or represent the organization in any way possible. It's recommended to anyone who received the email that they delete it immediately and to not respond or click on any links. If you did interact with the email, the Chamber suggests taking appropriate steps to protect you from your personal information. Now, in provincial news, the BC Conservatives are requesting an overview of the election process in the Surrey-Guildford region. Here's Robert Buffum of CTV News with more.
BC Conservatives are pressing for the police to investigate this Addictions Recovery Lodge in Surrey, where they allege voting irregularities happened this fall.
We must have public confidence in our election system.
The home is in the Surrey-Guildford riding, which NDP candidate Gary Begg won by just 22 votes in October's election, giving them a one-seat majority in the legislature.
Surrey-Guildford was the path for the NDP to get to government.
21 residents of Argyle Lodge voted by mail. The BC Conservatives have produced sworn statements from residents denying they requested mail-in ballots and suggesting they were pressured to vote. Elections BC says it never sends ballots without a request, but acknowledges requests could be facilitated by staff after canvassing residents.
We don't send a mail-in package in the case of an election to anyone who does not request a mail-in package.
How ballots got to Argyle Lodge, and the statements are inconsistent.
The facility's manager denies any wrongdoing. She says she wasn't involved directly in the process, but also that the facility never contacted Elections BC. Today, telling CTV, the home and its staff are the victim of a politically dirty game.
We can't allow our elections system to go into disrepute.
Elections BC is already reviewing the matter. Robert Buffum, CTV News, Victoria.
And moving on to a federal story, we now have more on the ongoing dispute between the Canadian politicians and President-elect Donald Trump about tariffs at the border, as well as which resources Canada may look elsewhere to export to.
America needs it. Canada has it.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford believes critical minerals are essential to a strong partnership with the U.S. It's why he's talking about accelerating resource development for both countries.
China's cutting, America off on the critical minerals. They're trying to corner the market. Who has more critical minerals than anyone right now in North America? It's Ontario.
A week ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, most premiers are pitching a partnership with the U.S. However, with that threat of 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods still looming, Premier Ford isn't ruling out a strong response.
If they're coming full tilt at us, I won't hesitate to pull out every single tool we have until they can feel the pain. But that's the last thing I want to do.
Alberta's Danielle Smith doesn't want energy exports caught up in this trade war, a point she made during a trip to Mar-a-Lago last weekend. The Premier says she wasn't lobbying to exempt oil and gas exports from those tariffs, but it is part of a key equation.
If we take energy out of the picture in making the argument, we have a trade the Americans have a trade surplus with us.
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper underlined that surplus on a U.S.-based podcast. And Harper suggested Canada should perhaps look at selling our oil and gas to other countries if Trump continues on a path towards tariffs.
Doesn't sound to me like the pronouncements of somebody who's a friend, a partner, and an ally, which is what I've always thought the United States is for our country.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says Trump is a bully, and he believes we should respond with force.
There's no quicker way to get Donald Trump to back away from tariffs than to shut off the tap on critical minerals, what the states need very clearly.
And we now turn to a more internal federal update on who is looking to run for Canadian Prime Minister for the Liberal Party. There are some newcomers looking to make waves, and after a big portion of the cabinet ministers bowing out of the race, on to Judy Trin with CTV News with more.
Mi'kmaq MP Jaime Batiste wants to make history as the first Indigenous candidate to run for Prime Minister.
You have to have that first person willing to put their hand up and try, even if the odds are stacked against them. It's important to take those first steps.
Batiste says he'll be making calls from morning to midnight. His biggest test will be raising the $350,000 entry fee. It's 4 times what it was previously.
One of the responsibilities of a prime minister, of a leader of a party, is to raise money.
Expect the top contenders: former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney and former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland to declare this week before Donald Trump takes office. But former BC Premier Christy Clark has hit a speed bump. After denying she was a member of the Conservative Party, electronic records revealed she signed up to be a Tory in June 2022 and was one for 1 year. Clark says she misspoke and clarified that she did it to support Jean Charest and stop Pierre Poilievre. She's expected to stay in the running and has a 250-person campaign team in place.
There is a new sense of energy. They are looking forward to see the kind of people coming forward.
Other than the top 3, Ottawa MP Chandra Arya and Quebec businessman Frank Baylis have also declared they're running. Several high-profile cabinet ministers have already bowed out of the race, but 3 others are still considering. Among them, Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne, House Leader Karina Gold, and Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson. The race will also be scrutinized by a national security task force that monitors elections for foreign interference.
The Liberal Party has certainly a chance, certainly in the context of this leadership race, to kind of create a pathway that can be adopted by other political parties.
Coming up next, we'll see what BC firefighting crews are up to in California. Hello and welcome back to CFTK-TV. We turn back to local news for a brief moment, where the town of Smithers has advertised that their annual Smithers Spruce Up program is once again back up and running. This program allows for local businesses located in the downtown commercial area in Smithers to apply for a grant that maxes out at $5,000 that can help them renovate, restore, or redesign their commercial building or retail storefront. However, the program will only cover certain costs such as direct project labor, materials, and supplies, as well as contractor fees. Applications will be taken in until June 1st, and instructions on how to apply are on the town's website. Moving on to weather news, BC has sent down their first firefighting crews in California this past weekend to battle the ongoing flames. Shannon Patterson from CTV has more on what's going on down south.
BC's first team of 12 wildland firefighting incident management personnel arrived in Los Angeles on Saturday.
And then we have sent an additional 23 personnel, so 22 wildland firefighters and 1 agency representative, and they're en route right now.
BC crews are there to help, but they're also there to learn about fighting large urban interface fires.
They're going to work alongside all of the American personnel that have usually more experience in terms of this urban interface fire, and can bring that back to BC so we can increase our expertise in areas where we just might not get as many opportunities.
Our province is able to spare dozens of experienced wildland firefighting personnel during the winter because of a recent focus on hiring year-round staff.
A large number of positions we've been working on making them full-time. It's been part of sort of our increased readiness for not only wildfires, but other hazards that can occur in BC.
But the BC Wildfire Service has to be careful its crews aren't burnt out by early year deployments in other countries.
If they already have 2 or 3 weeks of deployment and hard working days, and then we have an early fire season, say in April or May, it increases that risk of injury and body stress, all that kind of stuff, if we're already working them starting in January.
The 2 BC crews are expected to be on the ground in Los Angeles for 2 weeks. Shannon Patterson, CTV News.
And now we'll take a look at the local weather forecast for tonight and this upcoming week, where we are expecting a cold front in the near future. For tonight's forecast, the Prince Rupert region should have cloudy conditions with a 40% chance of showers earlier in the evening, with about 10 to 20 millimeters in total precipitation. Winds should be coming from the southeast at 20 kilometers per hour, and the temperature should be at 6 degrees. The Terrace and Kitimat region should also be cloudy with a 40% chance of showers earlier in the evening, with about 10 millimeters in total, along with a +3 rating. The Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should be cloudier later in the evening, followed by some light snow. Winds should be coming from the southwest at 20 kilometers per hour, which should become lighter after midnight, and there should be a low of 0 degrees. Moving on to your weekly weather forecast, Prince Rupert should see a couple rainy days with higher temperatures, followed by a cooler than usual few days heading into the weekend. However, there will be some more sunny conditions. The low will be -8 on Saturday night, and the high will be 8 degrees tomorrow. Terrace and Kitimat has a similar pattern, but with a chance of flurries on Thursday, followed by a drop down in temperature with sunny weather. The high will be 6 degrees tomorrow, and the low will be -10 on Friday and Saturday night. The Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will be warmer than usual for the week, but expect to see a steep drop-off on Friday night, going from -2 in the day to -15 in the evening, and the high will be 4 degrees tomorrow, and the low will be -16 on Saturday night. Now we take a look at your Northwest Roadside Report. For more updates, make sure to check out drivebc.ca. Highway 16 has water pooling from Prince Rupert to Skeena, bridge maintenance from Whitsett to Smithers, heavy rain between Quick and Houston, freezing rain between Houston and Broman Lake, utility work in Vanderhoof, as well as utility work in Guy Road and Pickering Road in Prince George, road maintenance east of Dunster, and slippery sections. Highway 37 has slushy sections between Bob Quinn Lake and Tatoga, slippery sections as well. Highway 37A has a vehicle incident at Bear Glacier Provincial Park and slippery sections. Highway 118, the Nisga'a Highway, Telegraph Creek Road all have slippery sections throughout. These are what the cameras we're looking at around the Northwest. Still to come, why more businesses are leaving the hybrid model of work behind. Welcome back. Well, Amazon workers are returning to the office full-time, leaving pandemic work guidelines in the past. Here's Andrew Johnson of CTV News in Vancouver, who has more on this topic.
The lunch rush outside Amazon's downtown Vancouver tech hub is busier than ever before, now that employees are back in the office here full-time.
It feels like everyone does enjoy coming to the office when they're there.
Not everyone.
Actually, to be honest, it's very hard for us.
They were following a hybrid model, working 3 days in the office and 2 remote. Then Amazon's CEO announced in the fall, in the name of collaboration and productivity, everyone would be required to come in.
First, problem is commuting.
We thought the 3-day return to office was good enough. Especially as software engineers, there's times where we need to work kind of on our own.
Amazon is far from alone post-pandemic trying to restore pre-COVID workplace culture. In September, the federal government also faced pushback for a requirement to be in office 3 days a week.
There's a lot of people that need some sort of flexibility in their day, be it they've got to drop kids off, they've got home expectations they need to take care of. And there's others that maybe want the hybrid or the flexible work model with regards to where they work.
He says there's been a 12% drop in job postings offering hybrid roles over the past year, but it's a perk job hunters aren't likely to abandon.
Just as compensation has always been a key discussion point, hybrid remote flexibility is going to be the second kind of biggest topic when people are negotiating.
The advice from one business professor, companies without the clout of Amazon may be best off accepting a compromise and avoiding a full-time return to the office.
To reach a middle ground of balancing productivity, employee satisfaction, individual needs, autonomy, and also organizational goals.
Or risk losing out to more flexible competitors. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
And nurses in British Columbia are demanding for safer working conditions as they near bargaining talks, with their union contract expiring on March 31st. Brennan Strain from CTV News has more down on the island.
Unsafe work has got to go.
The 250 nurses took to the streets of downtown Nanaimo today
Fight for healthcare.
with a message for their employer.
Every day, nurses face increasing violence in the workplace.
Fix the chronic nursing shortage. Make healthcare better.
The rally took place outside the Nanaimo Conference Center, where inside, it was day 2 of a bargaining conference for nurses within the Vancouver Island Health Authority.
Our collective agreement expires March 31st of this year.
It's a way to identify the top priorities of union members within Island Health, heading into contract talks. Adrian Gear, president of the British Columbia Nurses Union, says 2 issues continue to come up.
What we're hearing is staffing, despite negotiating minimum nurse-patient ratios.
An example of that would be a ratio of 1 to 4 on medical and surgical units. The Ministry of Health telling CTV News in a statement, "We are focused on creating a health system that works for both healthcare workers and patients. Together with the BCNU, we announced a first in Canada agreement to adopt new minimum nurse-to-patient ratios to strengthen patient care." Gear says that's not happening in many cases and claims she is hearing stories of some nurses working in a 1 to 15 ratio. The second major grievance?
It's not safe to be a nurse sometimes.
Gear says nurses continue to be assaulted on the job. The Ministry of Health says it has created 320 new relational security officer positions across the province and is exploring expanding to improve healthcare worker safety. Gear says one other factor continues to add to an already unsafe workplace.
Exposure to illicit substances continues.
CTV News reached out to Island Health today for comment, but was told that as this is one of many pre-contract negotiation bargaining events, it would defer to the Ministry of Health at this time. The union expects to actively begin bargaining with its employer after March 31st. Brendan Strain, CTV News, Nanaimo.
And now we take a look at the stock market, where we have a fair share of increases today, including in the Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is up 0.2 of a penny. The price of gold is up $3.70. Oil is down 93 cents, natural gas is up 4 cents, and aluminum is up $12. In Toronto, the TSX is up 52 points, the Venture Index is up about 3 points, Dow Jones is up 221 points, and NASDAQ is down 43. Still ahead, why Transport Canada will be putting more drones in Canadian skies. Welcome back to our final segment. Canadian health officials are now reporting a rising number of cases of the highly contagious norovirus illness in Canada, warning that the elderly and young children are most at risk.
It's called winter vomiting disease for a reason. Cases of norovirus rise as temperatures fall. But this year, several provinces are reporting an increase in cases of the virus that can cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Among the outbreaks, residences at the University of Guelph. 234 cases have been reported there since last Monday, and the university has increased measures to try and stop the spread of the virus.
Really active and enhanced cleaning measures, which is what our custodial staff are doing right now to ensure that there is extra cleaning of high-touch surfaces, washrooms, door handles. Those measures really do seem to be helping quite a bit. We've seen a significant decline in the number of cases.
While cases of norovirus appear to be higher than normal this year, experts say there are a few reasons why. The pandemic, and doctors are specifically naming the illness more often, rather than using umbrella terms like gastroenteritis.
Certainly during COVID, there was a significant slowdown in norovirus activity because of less travel, closure of a lot of settings, et cetera, lots of cleaning. And so, I think we're starting to see us getting closer to normal, if not at normal, plus probably a little bit more identification that really puts a name to this disease.
And drone usage is going to be more common going forward for Transport Canada in order to enhance safety in air travel. Josh Morano has our final story of the day over in Ottawa.
Drone sightings in Canadian skies are set to become increasingly frequent as early as the fall, something Eric Laporte is looking forward to.
We're going to be able to get drones with supplies or drones with just a visual on site to help possibly save lives and reduce potential loss of life and property.
Transport Canada updating its list of rules for flying drones, lifting restrictions on longer flights for remotely piloted aircrafts in low-risk areas.
Just having this framework and these new rules in place are going to open up more opportunities.
But while some of the restrictions for drone use are lifted, some of the requirements for pilots are tightened. If a pilot loses sight of a drone, it can be a fine of up to $5,000 and even jail time. For Laporte, the new rules give his business more opportunity for work.
It makes me proud to know that I'm in a country that is willing and progressive to go and take a look at those rules and say, hey, we can do better here.
Canada has long had strict rules about where drones can fly. They are used more frequently in the U.S. This recent collision between a drone and a Canadian firefighter aircraft over the Palisade Fire has authorities vowing to prosecute illegal drone flights. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration also temporarily banning drones in some parts of New Jersey and New York.
If you see a drone, it's because someone's using it for their job. They're using it for some business purpose. And then obviously you'll have that 1% or that portion of people that are using them for not so legitimate purposes. But for the most part, these things have come a long way.
Josh Morano, CTV News.
That'll be all for our cast tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good night.